All right, so welcome back, everybody. So today happens to be day 17th, and we are moving on. So today, what we're going to learn, I'm going to show us now. The first thing I'm going to show us is, let me just copy this heading. I bring it downwards to this place, right? So I showed it again. Yeah, I want to change this one. The first thing we're going to look at is, do I call it auditing formulas, or what do I call it? Okay, so that's what we're going to look at. We are going to look at how to actually audit our formula. Okay, so and when you want to audit your formula, you need to really know what the formulas are. So let's say auditing of formulas, auditing of formulas. Okay, auditing of formula. So let me now also go to the top and let me copy this stuff that we did yesterday. So we worked on this file, which I believe is going to be very useful to us. So this file here, let me just copy this file from okay, let me just copy it from the beginning. From here like this, I want to copy all this way down to where we have what's going on? Okay, let me undo. I don't know why it's like this. Okay, so I want to copy all these things from here like this to the bottom. No, I think to this place will be enough. Okay, to this place is going to be enough. So I'll just press no. So I'll just hold this. I'll just go to the edge of this selected region, right? The selected region. My plus was white before. Then it becomes like something like black. So I will left click. I will hold my control key. Then I'll move away from here. Okay. What I've done is that I am trying to copy that data from where it is, and I'm taking that data down. So when I get to where I want to use it, right, the first thing I'm going to do, I'll first of all release my click. My click is a left click. I first of all release the left click first. I release the left click before I move my hand from the control key. So that is how we actually duplicate, right? That's how we duplicate data. So the next thing we want to do is that we already have all these things. So we want to like edit this formula. This formula here, we use an if, right? And the if statement was saying the content of B306 is greater than 500. That was what we said yesterday. And then when we checked it, and actually it's true. So that is what we used yesterday. But today we are going to use another formula. This formula is actually easy to understand, but today we are going to use another formula. So another thing I want to do is I want to fine tune this side a little. Okay, though this thing is actually working with this formula that is here, but notwithstanding, I want to change it a little. So this thing here that is here now, I want to also copy it and I will move it. I'll move it from here. Let's say I want to move it to this side. Okay, fine. So that's will not hamper with our formula. So our formula is still intact. Nothing is wrong with our formula. I can even save and nothing is going to change because I simply move that thing from the region it was, I take it to another region. So that is fine. So another thing I want to do, I want to delete all these ones at the top. So you should be looking at all I'm doing so that you can also learn also so that you can be flexible on Excel. Now, another thing I want to do is, do I change this thing? Okay, do I change it? Let me see. Right. I'm doing something. Let me also change this one. I want to move this one from here. I'll move it from here like this. I'll move it to the bottom. Okay, so you can always do as you like in Excel. So you can see what I'm doing. I'm doing as I like. Then I can also take this side and shift it to the top. Fine. So this is what I'm doing. So you can see the rearrangement I'm doing. So I already know that what I'm trying to achieve, I already know what I'm trying to achieve, right? So what I'm trying to achieve is that this one here at the top, the one at the bottom is the false. The answer that is going to be false, right? And so since that one is the false, I want to now put something like I'll say amount. Amount is sorry. Amount is below average. Average. So we also go and change our formula. So the other one is good. This is going to be true. So this is going to be answer if true, right? Then we say that amount is average or above average. So say amount is average or above average. So we are going to change this formula now. So that is fine. So let's now change the formula. Let's come over here. So what I want to do is I want to change this formula, right? All the formulas are here initially. We can delete all of them. So let's come and delete everything because we want to adjust the formula. Delete, 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 delete. Okay, so delete. So we are done deleting now. So let's now start. Let's start afresh. So what I want to do is want to say equal to, right? We want to say if we open our bracket, right? When we say if we open our bracket, we now say the content of this place. The content of this place, right? We assume that it is greater or equal to average, right? So that average now, we now open our bracket again because average is like a formula. So we now say it's the average of year down to year. Okay. So that is what we are saying. So we are saying that the content of that B, whatever, is greater than or equal to the average of the total sales. So we can actually close our bracket, right? Then let's also make all these things absolute reference, right? Let's make it absolute reference because we are going to adjust our formula. I want to ensure that when we are adjusting the formula, it will not give us an error sign. So we just press F4 and automatically it makes it an absolute reference. So now we've made a statement. You know, we are using an if function. We've made a statement, right? What we said is that we say the content of that cell B306, we say is greater than and equal to the average of the average sales, right? The average total sales, okay? So we say that is actually greater or equal to the sales. Now we want to have the average of the total sales. Then we say this B, the content of B306 is actually greater than or equal to the average total sales. So that is what we assumed, right? So if that is the truth, probably that's the target we give our salespeople. The target is that each person's sales should be higher than the average total sales. Okay, so we'll not put a comma. So when we know that the person achieved that, the person is actually going to get 10%. So we'll click on 10%. Then we also want to make this also absolute. So we also click on F4, okay, to make it absolute. Then when we are done with that, that is the first answer we are setting. Remember, the if function gets 3 arguments. The first one is what we've done. Then the second argument is what we have put. Then the last argument is this answer if false. So we also want to make sure that this also is absolute. We also press F4 to make it absolute. Then at the end of the day, we now close our box, right? We are done with our argument. We can now click on enter. So automatically you can see that here, this guy, he actually did 509, but this 509 is not up to the average of the total sales. So that's what we want to use now. We don't want to use the other one we used the other time. So when we have gotten this very well, then we can just autofill it downwards. Okay, you can autofill it downwards and then we are good. Now, since we have done this like this, right? We now saw that, okay, this guy, okay, so that means that we can also change this our also formula because this our formula now is going to be fine-tuned based on the way we did this one. We are not using the average sales. We are no longer using greater than 500. We are no longer using that. So let's quickly do something. Let's also fine-tune our whatever. So we quickly come over here and we change this. So what we are going to do is that here we are going to say something like, let's, so we're going to say equal to if. We now make that statement. We now say is greater than or equal to, we now say average of, we open our bracket, then we come and select the total average. So from here like this down to, sorry, what am I doing? Down to here, right? So, this is 320. So let's take away the 500. 320, I want to take away this 500 over here. Okay, yeah. So 320, then I close it. Then that is the first statement and all that. So other things are now set. So that is that. So we now come here, we now autofill it downwards, right? We autofill it downwards. So now the only thing I did is almost the same thing that we did yesterday, but the only thing I did now is that I now change the statement. The first statement yesterday was telling us that is greater than 500, but today's statement, we are saying that this thing is actually greater than or equal to the average total sales. So that's what we use now for our formula. So now, if you want to, probably you see any formula like this, okay, and you don't understand the formula, you don't understand why they are getting 5 here, you just see any formula that is strange, right? And then you are curious, you want to know how come we are having 5 there? What makes us have 5 there? Some people have left the call. How come we are having 5 there? What is making us to have 5 over there? So what you want to do is that once you click on where the formula is, you come to your formula, right? When you come to your formula, okay, then you now go to the right. Go to the right-hand side. You're going to see where we have formula auditing. So under this formula auditing, you see where they say evaluate formula. So we'll now click on evaluate formula. So this box is going to show. Now, the first thing we are saying is that we're saying equal to the content of B306, right? So we now click on, okay, what is that thing inside that B306? We evaluate it. Click on evaluate. When you click on evaluate, it's going to tell you that the content of that B306 is actually 509.7, which is all we have over there. Then click on, now you can see it has left, you can see that 509.7 has been shown to us what it is. Then the formula, the underline has shifted from here, is now under this average of the range that we selected. So we click on evaluate again. When we click on evaluate again, it's not telling us that the average of the total sales is actually 532 naira plus all these cobbles. So we are simply saying that 509.7 is greater than or equal to 532. Is it possible? Can that be correct? Can 509.7 be greater than 532? Can somebody answer me? Are we together?
No.
No. So is not that statement is not correct. 509 is not greater than or equal to 532. So therefore, Excel is not going to pick the first answer that we set, because the first answer usually should be answer that Excel will pick if this statement is true, right? So let's evaluate again. We evaluate again, and it's telling us that that statement we made is actually false. It's saying that that statement is false. So since that statement is false, it's also going to pick answer that is false. So let's evaluate again. And it's telling us, okay, because the statement is false, it's going to pick the answer that we set for when the statement is false. So that's how you can actually evaluate a formula. So I just have to go through all this so that you can actually understand how to evaluate a formula. So let's come over here to where we have good luck. Okay, we can come to anywhere, better luck or good luck. Let's also click on good luck, right? When you click on good luck, go to your formula. If you go to your formula bar, right? So come all the way to the same formula auditing, right? So you just come to your evaluate formula. So you click on evaluate formula, and now it has selected the content of B 307, right? So we want to evaluate it. What is that content? What is in that cell B307? We evaluate it. It's telling that the answer is 612.8, which is going to be this one, okay? 612.8, fine. So the 612.8 is greater than or equal to the average total sales. So what is the average total sales? Let's check the average total sales. The average total sales is actually 533.9 something. So is 612.8, is it actually greater than or equal to 533? What's the answer?
It's greater than.
Is greater than. So which means that it is true. Is that not so? So let's click on our evaluation and see the answer is going to tell us, okay, it's telling us that it is true. Now, because it's true, it's going to pick the answer that we set for true, and then it will not pick the answer that we set for false. So let's now click it. It's picking the answer that we set for true. So that is how to actually evaluate a formula. So if you need me to put a note, I'll quickly put a note. Okay, so to evaluate a formula, comma, simply click on the cell with the formula you wish to evaluate. Okay, the formula you wish to evaluate, then go to the formula tab on the ribbon toolbar, and at the formula auditing section, right? You will see a tab called evaluate formula. Click on it to start evaluating your formula. Okay, so that's that. So we are done with how to evaluate a formula, okay? So that's actually to evaluate a formula. So no matter how big or how long the formula is, if you understand how to evaluate formula, you can always understand what the formula is and why you are getting that answer that you got. So we're going to move further now. We're going to now go to another thing that we need to do. We're going to move further, okay? So still in the same process, let's now check for something. Let's assume that we are having, okay, so yeah, I think we have a formula here. So this is a formula. So no, this is a total, yeah? So this is a total. So the next thing we want to do now is we want to check for precedence. We want to look at how to audit using auditing to diagram. Using auditing to diagram. So let's quickly go and check for, let me leave here. Let's quickly go to, or alternatively, let me also copy, let me borrow one of this data. Let me say, I want to borrow this data here, right? I borrow this data, I will just copy it. I'll click here, then hold my control key and then drag it down to the bottom. Okay, so I'm dragging it down to the bottom. All right, so this is it now. So the next thing we want to do is, we want to now do using auditing to diagram. So that's the next thing I want to work on, using auditing to diagram. So I want to click copy here and then come over here and place here, Ctrl V. So now using auditing, so using auditing to diagram. So using auditing to diagram is the next thing you want to do. So now, what do I mean by that? Now there is what. So most when you begin to go deeper into Excel, you discover that a time will come when you are not only imputing data, right? You also want to spend a lot of time trying to audit data, trying to ask yourself some questions. Why are we having so and so? What could be wrong with this sheet? You continue to audit the data, trying to understand what is wrong. Is the data accurate? Can you rely on the data and all those things? So when you are doing that, there are two things that you can do. Okay, there are certain terms that you need to note. The first one, there's what we call precedence, and there's also a term they call dependence. Okay, so let's look at the terms to look at. So another thing I want to do is that let's also check something. So we want to like get the totals of these, right? So we want to have a total here. Let's have a total column over here. There's a total here, total. Then yeah, that is fine. Then want to have another total here as well. So there's another total here. So let's go and use, let's use alt equals to. So to use alt equals to, select where the data is, right? All the places where the data is, right? Then that you can come to this place and shift click, right? Fine, but that's not what you want to do. So select where the data is and also select where you want your answer to show. I want my answers to show in all these places, right? So once you have selected where the data is, and you have also selected where you want your total to show, just press your alt equals to, and look at what happens. Automatically, Excel imputes all the what's it called, the totals in those regions. So automatically, so that's another thing to do. Just select every area where the data is plus where you want your answer to be, then just press your alt equals to, and automatically you're going to get all your answers in those places. So I hope you understand that. Then the next thing we want to do is that we want to now start auditing these data, right? We want to start auditing these data. So what we are going to do is that we're going to say, then let's also do another thing. Let's also have another thing over here. Let's say we want to divide something, right? We now say, okay, let's divide. We say equal to this. Let's say divided by, let's say divided by 10, like that. So say equal. So we simply, we can just copy here and then get our information here like this, like this, like this. So let's now look at things to look at. So when you are trying to use auditing in diagram, so what are we trying to do? So I say there are two terms to note. Okay, two terms to note. Two terms to note. No. To note here. You can also, sorry, you can also check for error as well. So if you understand how to use all these auditing tools. So before I leave the auditing area, I just said, let me quickly just touch on all the things that you can actually do under the auditing. Number one, we have what we call precedence. For those people that were in the class before, I think you have an idea. Precedence. So there's what we call precedence. So precedence, they are data that feeds into a formula. So precedents are data, okay? Precedents are data that feeds into a formula. Precedents are data that feeds into a formula, okay? Formula. Then the next one, we now check the number 2, which is a 2. It is dependence. Dependence. So dependence now. Dependence is a formula that Excel feeds into. So dependence is a formula that Excel. Dependence is a formula that Excel feeds into. Okay, so let's look at an example. So you check now, you see that here we have these data here already, right? If you click on this data, this is a data. So when we talk about precedence, they say precedence are data that fits into a formula. So this is a precedence, right? This is a data that usually we fit into one of these formula. So what do you want to do? We want to go and check for, want to trace that precedence, or we can also trace dependence. Okay, so you click on that data, then you go to, so once you click on this cell where there's the data, come to the ribbon toolbar and come and click on your formula again, that same formula that we have. Okay, so let's now come over here. So let's quickly jot that down. So trace precedence or dependence, comma, go to the formula tab, and under the formula auditing group, you can see trace dependence or precedence tab. Okay, so let's go there now. So what we want to do is that the first thing we want to do is that we want to say what formula do these data do they feed into? So precedence is there are data that feed into a formula. So this is a precedence now. So what formula does it feed into? So when we come to our formula bar, when you come to your formula bar, then go to the right hand side of where you're going to see where you have formula auditing, right? So just go and trace. Let's go and trace precedence. So we want to click on trace dependence first. Let's click on trace dependence. So you can see this arrow now is telling us that these are data, right? Fit into this total and also to fit into this total. This total that is here is supposed to be centralized, okay? So let me go and centralize this total, all these totals. So let's come to the home tab. From the home tab here, we want to like centralize them. So he's saying that, or let me make it center. So he's saying that, no, let me make it like this. It's fine like this. So yeah, all the total. So he's telling us that this 287, right? It actually is a data that fits into this place. It also fits into this total. Okay, that is fine. So what else can we also do? Another thing we can also do is that we can now say that let's now go to the data. So if you go to data, you want to trace the data that is feeding into. But if you are here, you want to trace the formula that this data is feeding into. So that's why we say trace dependence. So if you check it, they say dependence is a formula. So we want to trace the formula that this data is feeding into. So they say dependence is a formula that Excel fits into. So when you are on a data, you want to trace dependence. When you are on a formula, you want to trace precedence. So let's now come to the data. Let's go and trace for the precedent. What are the data that fit into this formula? So we'll now come here, we'll now say trace precedence. So automatically you have trace precedent to tell you that all these data are actually feeding into this place. We can also come over here also, we click on trace precedence, right? Trace precedence, and look at it. It's telling us that all this data across here, they actually feed into this place. And another thing that you must note is that this thing can also be printed. It's printable. You can print this thing. Just go to control, just press your control P. All this arrow that you can see, they will. Oh, I didn't select the where I want to print. So let's go back again. Let's go back. So let's select where we want to print. We can also set. We can set print area. Remember, we can always set the print area. So let's select all this. Sorry. Okay. So let's select on Control Z, undo. Okay. So let's select the print area. We come over here like this. We select it to the top. Then once we select it to the top, what do we want to do to be able to set what we want to do? Who can remind me? If you want to select your print area, where do you go to? Somebody should mute his mic and tell me if you want to set print area, where do you go to?
You go to print preview.
Go to page layout.
Oh yeah, sorry, page layout here.
So once you go to page layout, then come here and see print area. Area. Once we set it, I can see because we show our this. Can you see me? Hello.
Yes, we can.
I'm hearing you now.
So, okay,
We
fine.
can
So
hear you.
we have set our print area already. So what we want to do now is let's now press Ctrl P, and then from our Ctrl P, let's check for Ctrl P. Let's select away. Okay, Ctrl P, and let's see. So Ctrl P, we are seeing it, but all the things that we selected before, they have gone away. So let's go back and also go and do what we did before again. We've selected the print area already. Let's go and now do what we did the other time. We come here, want to check dependence. So we come here, we go and trace dependence, right? Trace dependence. Okay, so it's telling us that the trace dependence command requires that the active cell center contain a formula, okay, which involves valid references. I'm coming here. Yeah, so let's come back over here. Let's go. It's dependence we are supposed to go and trace. Sorry. We come over here. Then we now want to trace dependence. Sorry. Okay, so we have trace dependence. Then let's also come to our data. Let's go and trace precedence. Let's come over here. Then we'll trace precedence. So once we do that, let's now press our Ctrl P. We discover that those things are actually printable. You can print them. You can see that all those lines that you have put, they're actually printable. Let's press escape. So the next thing you also want to do is that once you have done all these things, you can decide to erase all those arrows, right? You can decide to remove the arrows. Just come here, click on remove arrow, and all the arrows are actually gone. So all the arrows are actually gone. So basically, when you have a formula, you want to ask yourself, what are the data that fit into the formula? You have to talk about precedence, because data are precedence. So precedents are data that fit into a formula. So once you click here, you are looking for data that fit into this formula. So you are going to go and trace the data. Data are called precedents. So data are called precedents. Why? Formulas are called dependence. Okay, formula obviously they depend on data. Why? Data are called precedents. So if you're on a formula, you want to say what are the data that fit into this formula. So you are placing the precedents. So we come over here now. Let's go and trace precedence. We come over here to our formula bar. We trace precedence. So that is how it works. If you're on data, you want to say trace dependence. You come on the formula bar, go and trace your dependence. Okay, so that's how it is. And I also said that it can also print. Now, there's another thing I also want to tell us. For instance, let's assume that we now decide that all these data that are here, want to delete them. So let's come over here. Let's see. Let me first of all clear this thing. Let me go back to this place. I want to clear my, let me clear the error. Alternatively, okay, So let's say that let me just put more note here, okay? Okay, to discover, so to discover the data that fits into a formula, comma, go to the cell with the formula and then at the, so once you go to the cell with the formula, you click on it, right? So go to the cell with the formula, comma, click on it, comma, click on it, then go to the formula bar and trace dependent. Sorry, no, not dependent. So since is the formula you want to ask that what are data that feed into it, you now trace precedence. So trace precedence, and vice versa is the other way. So another thing I also want to tell us is that let's assume that here I come here now. Okay, and that thing is that apart from you having just to always have those lines drawn, those lines that are drawn is when you come to the formula bar and you want to click over here and you are tracing. But you can also achieve that also by using some shortcuts. So let's look at some shortcuts. Number one. Okay, what's going on? Okay, so number one, shortcut. I mean, Excel shortcuts. Excel shortcuts. Okay, so the first one. Sorry. So the first one now, Control B. The first one I want to do is that number one, full stop, to trace dependence, right? If you are trying to trace dependence, that means that you are on a data, a cell where there is data, right? You want to trace dependence, right? So to trace dependence, don't forget that the totals where the formulas are, they are the dependence. So to trace dependence, to ask yourself that, okay, what formula is this data feeding into? To trace dependence, comma, so you press Control plus this no, not this one, plus this. Yeah, so this is what you press, okay? That's a trace dependence. So if I want to trace dependence now, I just come to, so dependence is like dependence. Okay, so to trace dependence, right, I just come to where a data is, I just press Control, this arrow, and you see that here, you can see it telling me that this is where the thing is depending on. So this data is feeding into this way. So when you press your Control plus your open brackets, not that normal regular bracket. Then number two, to trace, full stop, to trace precedence. You already know what precedence is, Abby. Who can tell me what precedence is? To trace precedence, comma, press Control plus this other bracket. Okay, so that is how to trace precedence. But however, there are times that your formula is actually feeding into more than or some data, right? Some data are not only in one area. So for instance, if I want to trace, if I click here now, I want to trace dependence, right? I just press my Control with this. I'm going to see that, okay, this is my 200 and my 200 and this data here, let me come here, let me color it. This data over here is actually feeding into this place. It's actually feeding into this place. That's why it's telling me it's actually, but at times this data can feed into more than just here. It can feed into other areas. So to get that, hold your control key plus the shift and then plus the open arrow. So it's going to tell you not only this place that is feeding into, it's also telling us that it's also this total here also is also borrowing information from here. So that is how you get direct and indirect. So for instance now, so to get, you know that our data, our totals, they are the dependents, right? They are the one that is depending on the data. So to get direct and indirect dependence, so let's come over here. So that is number 3. Number 3, to trace direct and indirect, to trace direct and indirect dependence, right, which is formula, dependence. To trace the direct and indirect dependence, comma, you press Control plus Shift plus, then you now press, because it's dependent on the press, you now press this key. Okay, so that's how to get that. So number four, to trace direct and indirect precedence. So, comma, press Control plus Shift plus the left arrow key. Okay, so that's it. So also don't forget, before I leave here, don't forget that dependence is a formula. Dependence is a formula, while precedence is the data. So if you are tracing dependence, you have to be on data to trace dependence. You have to be on data to trace dependence. But if you are tracing precedence, right? If you are tracing the precedence, you have to be on the totals to now ask yourself, okay, what is the precedence that this thing is depending on? So that is how to do that. So you must understand clearly that dependence is a formula and precedence is the data. Okay, so that is that. So once we are done with that, let's now do something again. We can also check for errors. So let's come to where this thing is. Let's delete all these datas. So we can delete all these datas like this, and then we now delete. Oh, my delete is faulty. My delete is actually faulty. So what do I do? Okay, let me undo. Let me do something. Control Z. Let me do something. So here I want to do, instead of me to just do that, let me just say equal to the sum, open my bracket, the sum of all these places together, right? The sum, close my bracket, divided by, let's say 4, and I press enter. So if I now come over here and I delete, so let me just autofill this one here. For instance, I autofill it to this place, and that is it. Okay, let me also do it to the last end. Here also, I also want to do it to this last end. Fine. So the next I want to do is that let's now say that I now delete all this data that are here. I delete all these data that are here. Oh, I can't delete all the data. Well, let me do it one after the other. Or let me do something. My delete button is actually faulty. Oh, it's not giving me what I need. Okay. What can I do? Okay, it's not giving me what I need. But I just want to get an error. I want to get an error sign but it's not giving me the error sign. I need to get an error sign. I don't know why it's not. Okay, hold on. So let me do Control Z, Control Z, Control Z, Control Z. Fine. Oh, then Control. Okay. So that is that. So it's not giving what I want. But actually, whenever you get an error, right? Whenever I get an error, let's assume that here now, let's come over here. Like you are now saying this one, let's now put an apostrophe at the front here. Let's put an apostrophe at the front here, okay? Apostrophe. Hold on now. Apostrophe. Apostrophe. Okay. Apostrophe also. This just doesn't want to give me error. Can we add something that is empty under apostrophe here again? Apostrophe, then enter. It's still not giving me error. This doesn't want to give me error. I want it to give me error, but it's not giving me error. So for instance, now you already have information inside here, and then the informations are supposed to add up, but they're not adding up, and then you're having this. Or let me do something again. Let me say, I want to put, instead of that stuff I put there, let me try and put an alphabet.
Yes, put a letter.
It's still not giving me
an alphabet.
It's still not giving me error.
No, remove it. Remove that 287 and use A.
Okay.
Let's
try that, Abby.
Yes.
Okay, so let me just put A here, B here, G here, H here. It's not still giving me error. It's not still giving me error. So that means that this one, no matter how I try, it doesn't want to give me error. But at least if your own this is giving error, so this is what you do. Just go to, most of the time is your totals that you get error. So just go to your formula. Once you go to your formula, then go all the way to where you have your formula auditing again. Then check. There's a place that is telling us check error. So you now click like this. And the next say that okay, you are checking your error. You are saying update formula to include cells. No, this is not where I'm supposed to select. Sorry. Let me undo it. Cancel. Let me cancel. So I want to come here. I want to select here. This is what I want to select, right? Then I'll come back to my formula and I say check error. It's selecting another place. Why? It's not selecting where I want it to select. I'm supposed to select here, but it's not selecting there. Okay. So that's fine, but that's how you can actually check your error. So, okay, I click here and I'll click on the place where the stuff is, right? This is where I want you to, so I say, okay, resume, help on this error. So I think it's selecting, it's another thing it's selecting actually. It's selecting error in cell C307. So error in cell C307. Okay, there's error here. Okay, so we can say resume. Update formula to include cell. Copy formula from above. Update formula to include cell. Okay, so that's that. That's how you can also check for your errors and all that. But yeah, obviously where I am, there is no error showing over there. So since we are done with this, we want to move further to look at something else that we can also do. Okay, so another thing we want to do is that we want to go and check how can we achieve to get conditional formatting. The another thing we can also do is that we can also try to ask ourselves that, let's assume we have a payment. We have a payment that we want to borrow. We want to go and borrow payment. We want to go and borrow money from the bank. Then this money that we want to go and borrow in the bank, we want to ask ourselves that, how much are we expected to actually be paying back monthly? So let's try something. So let's come over here. Let me copy this place from here. Like I want to copy here, and I come to the bottom, and I want to put it right here. So want to check how much you want to pay back in a month. So yeah, I want to call it go Seek. So this go sick. Go sick. Go sick. Okay? Go sick. Yeah, so it's go sick we want to do. So we want to build, let's build up on this thing. So yeah, planning for capital investment. So here is we are planning for capital investment, planning for capital investment. So let's assume we have a capital investment we actually want to venture into. So the amount that I want to borrow, will be here. So amount to borrow. So the amount to borrow, we want to make sure that is in present value. So in bracket, we are going to have present value. So the amount is going to be like, let's say you want to borrow, it can be like 100,000. 1, 2, 3, 100,000. Then the next thing is that we now say we are expected annual interest rate. So our expected annual interest expected, or the interest rate that they are charging us, expected annual interest rate is actually, let's say the amount is like, let's say is 6%. Then alternatively, we also have expected year to pay off the loan. So expected years to pay off this loan is 10 years, right? So we already have all those information. Then the question we want to ask ourselves is that how much are we to pay, or how much are we supposed to be paying monthly? So we're going to say monthly payment. How much is our monthly payment? So we know that, so this are place where our monthly payments is. I want to color it. So this is what we're actually looking for. We're asking ourselves that, okay, I need money for a project, right? This money, because most times you need to plan. You need to plan how much you want to borrow. Then you also check, do you have the power to actually go for that kind of a loan? Hope it will be more than what you can actually pay back. So you want to check, how much am I expected to be paying back monthly? So we already know that we want to borrow this kind of money, right? We want to borrow this kind of money. And this money, let's say, is like, let's add another 3 zeros, another 3 zeros again. Okay. So yeah, so it's too big. It's too big. So let me just try and do something like this. Okay. It's showing that let me extend this more. So it's not about extending, it's just telling me that the figure there is very large. Okay. So that's why it's trying to tell me that the figure there is very large. So let me take away three zeros. Okay, so we have this figure here, and this figure is already 3. Okay, let me take away another 0 from there. 1 million, or let's see, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, then another 0. So let's say, okay, so that is, I think that is 1 billion. So fine. So we want to go for 1 billion. Okay, the project we want to go for, the project is actually 1 billion. Then the annual interest rate that they say they'll be charging us is 6%. And we're expected to pay this loan back in 10 months. So they ask, so in 10 years, in 10 years. So if they ask you, how much are you to pay monthly? Does anybody have idea how you're going to get that? Anybody on the call? Anybody on the call? If you don't know, just say no idea. Anybody on the call? If you don't know, just say no idea. Then we can move on.
No idea.
All right. So this is where we now learn the payment function. So there's also what we call a payment function. There's what we call a payment function, which we are going to learn. So let's learn the payment function. The payment function is just like our normal function, okay? It's going to have some argument. So we want to learn the payment function. So the syntax of a payment function So the payment function, sorry, the payment function has two arguments. So let's look at the syntax of a payment function. The syntax of a payment function. So the syntax of a payment function is, so let's start with equal to, right? So you now say PMT, open your bracket, right? When you open your bracket, you want to ask yourself, how much interest are we to pay? Interest, comma. You also want to say that, what is the payback period? Payback dash period. What is the payback period? Then the last one is you also want to talk about the present value. So you now close your bracket. So this is the syntax of a payment function. You always start with your what? The equal to payment. You open your bracket, you talk about the interest, comma, the payment period, comma, then you talk about the present value. So let's come over here. Using this syntax that we already know, let's try and work on this payment period for this loan. So this loan now is 1 billion. And then we were told that we have to pay 6% every year. And then the expected period of the loan is 10 years. So how much are we to be paying monthly? So you come over here, you now say equal to, now say PMT, right? You open your bracket. Now, the first thing we are looking at is interest. And you know that interest rate is annual. But here we want to talk about monthly. If they are to pay 6% in a year, then if you have to pay, how much interest are you going to pay in a month? So it's going to become equal to this, our interest rate, right? Then we now divide it by 12. Divided by 12, so that we are going to get only the interest rate for a month. Once you have done that, you put a comma. Then the next thing, we are just following the syntax of a payment function. The next thing you want to do is that you want to also click on this, your payback period. Your payback period is actually 10 years, right? But we are only dealing now with monthly. So if we are paying back per year, we are paying back by only 10 years. But if you are paying back by month, how many months do we have in each of the years? So we are going to multiply this, our 10, we are going to multiply it by 12. We are multiplying this one by 12. That's the next thing we want to do, so that we can get months. Before, the payment period is actually yearly. We need to convert it to monthly. Once you convert it to monthly, you put a comma. Then the next thing you want to do is that you want to select the amount you are borrowing. Once you select it, you close your bracket and then you click on enter. So you want to tell me something. Say there is a problem with this formula. Not trying to type a formula when the first character is an equals to or a minus, whatever. Z6 is a formula. You type equal to this plus this, to get around this, type an apostrophe first. Okay, I say okay. So oh, I put an equals to in this bar. Imagine me. I'm not supposed to put an equal to here. So this is what I ought to do. I ought to just select naturally. So this is what the issue is. I think this is good. We'll click on enter, and automatically it's telling us per month we have to pay. What are we paying per month? We are paying 11 million 102,015 naira point 05. Sorry, point 19. Okay, so to make this one now, it's now showing like a minus, right? We can also come here and now say times, to make it plus, times -1. Let's see what happens. Okay, so it's telling us that, okay, every month we are going to be paying this amount. This is what we are going to be paying, and that is what that is. So what if this stuff, what if this thing is too large? What if this thing is too large and then we cannot pay this amount, right? I think that is when we now need to now come to our ribbon toolbar, right? Under our ribbon toolbar is no longer I look at this one. I still need to like try and I'm coming, let me check. Go seek, view, let me check view, let me check review, let me check formula, go seek. Data. I'm coming, oh. Insert. Nah. Formula. Data. What if analysis? What if analysis? Let me drop this down. What if analysis? Yeah, so this is where we are here. So under the data, when you go to your data, you come to your what if analysis, and under it you have your goal seek. Okay, so you can actually do your goal seek from there. So before we come to do this, right? Let's first of all understand what we are doing. So we already know that here we want to borrow a certain amount of money, and that amount of money they are telling us in the bank that they're going to collect 6% annually, right, from us. Then they also told us that this loan we paid back in 10 years. Now, what we're asking ourselves is that, you know, when you just take 10 years, it's like a vague, very big, just numbers, right? We need to now tell us, let's now break it down into reality. How much are we expecting to be paying back per year? Okay. So if you look at this now, when you break this down now, you discover that even though it is 10 years, if you break it down per month, now ask yourself, does this your investment, can it actually make 11 million 100 and whatever in a month's time to know whether you can go for this loan? Okay. Though, yes, so that is one angle. The another thing is that in case this thing is not actually favorable for you, you can go and go to your data, right? When you go to your data, you can go under this what if analysis, you click on it, then you can click on go seek, and then it's going to tell you what you want to achieve. So the set cell, you're going to have the set cell, right? Then to value, then by changing so and so. So let's do something like this. Let's cancel out. So let's click on here. This is where our answer is, right? So let's click on this place. Let's now come to our data. When we come to our data, we come to our what if, right? We now come to our go seek. We now say, okay, this set cell is this place, right? To value. Okay, so this is what I'm going to do. I will come back for this our go seek so that I do not mislead us. I'll come back for the go seek so that I do not mislead us. Let's just leave it from here. Let's first of all learn this bit first today. So from this bit, we build more on it probably tomorrow, okay? But let's leave this. At least you already have an idea of your go seek. You also have an idea that you need to come to your data in case you want to do more analysis. Let's assume this money is too big for you. Let's say you now say, okay, what if this we change the numbers of what, like you need this money you really need it, but the payment plan per month is not favorable for you. So probably you can now fight that. Okay, I don't want this amount. I can't pay it back in a month. Okay, it's too big for me to pay back in a month. Can I adjust the interest rate, or can I adjust the numbers of years I'm going to use to pay back this loan? So go seek will allow you to do all those adjustments until you're able to get a solid amount that you are sure that you can pay back. In fact, you can even tell yourself that, okay, this amount I want to pay back. Okay, let's try something. Let's come over here. Let's come and get back to our data, and let's go to our what if, right? Let's now say we want to do our goal seek. So the set data is this, right? So to value, let's say we want to get like, let's say we want to get like, let's say like, let's say is 1 million, or let's say is 1 million we can actually afford per month. 1, 2, 3. Okay, it's 1 million. Then by changing what set you want to change, you want to change either this, sorry, by changing, let's say you want to change, is it D3, whatever, sorry, let me see, this is D355, or let me, by changing this, okay, so by changing that, so let's now see our results. Okay, so by changing that, let's click on equal to. Okay, so target value. So, but let me see, come back to this so that I can. So you see that here now, we are no longer planning to pay back in 10 months, but we are trying to pay back in a month that is longer than the normal month. But don't worry, let's not concentrate on this. Let me work on this, and let me come back to us tomorrow on this one now. So let's click this one. Let's now go and do conditional formatting. Okay, let's go further and do conditional formatting. So I want to look for one data that we've not used before. So let me go and look for a data that we've not used before. I scroll to the right and I go and look for a data that we've not used before. So this is a data. Okay, no, this is linking of sheets. Let's move further. Do we check these tables? Okay, so this is a data. Actually, this is another data. This is another data, and so on and so forth. Let's still move further. We go all the way. Multiplication table. Nah, not this one. Let's move further. Loan tracking. Nah, not this one. Let's still move further. I think there's one sample report. Let's check our sample report. Okay, so let's assume that we want to use this, our sample report, for the analysis that we want to work on. Okay, so we want to actually do goal seek. No, not do goal seek. We want to do conditional formatting. I'm trying to look for a data that will be suitable for what I want to do. A data that will be suitable for what I want to do actually is what I'm looking for. A data that will be suitable. Just give me 2 minutes. Let me just search for the data. Data that will be suitable for what I want to achieve. Okay. Let's go back to our table. I think that table is going to work. All the table we had then, those tables will work. Okay, these tables will work. So let's go to those tables. Now, remember I told us yesterday that whenever you have data like this, right? So let me just do something. Let me make this place insert. I want to insert the names. So yeah, I want to say probably all these are sales figure for each of these places. And I want to also say that, so let's say this January, this February, this March, this April. So let's do something. Let me also include another, let me insert another stuff. Then also here, I also want to insert another stuff like this. So here, want to have here, like want to have January. So this is January. So we can autofill it. So just say here, want to autofill it. We just do it this way. Okay, so this is January, right? So when we have our January, then the next thing we also want to do is I want to now put like Lagos sales for those places. So Lagos, what Lagos did in January, in February, in March, and all those stuff. So we now have Lagos. Then remember we have pre-made list, right? We have pre-made list. We just drag it down, and automatically we are going to get all the different states that we have stored inside Excel. For those people that don't know how to do this thing, you can meet me later. I'm going to explain to you. So here are the states. So the states, yeah, right? So these are the states. The another thing I want to do is I want to make this thing, I want to make it bold and yeah, bold. Got to be here as well. I also want to make this one also bold. Right, Control B. Now the next thing I want to do is that, remember I told us that to select a data, right? To select a data, let me also make this thing plain. I don't want it to be showing this dark. Let me come over here and change the color. I want to change it to, let's say, white. Fine. Okay, so we have something that is looking good. So what we want to do is that we want to select all these things. We can just click anywhere and press Control Shift and End. Control Shift and End is going to select all the parts that the data is. So let's do it again. Remember I told us yesterday, Control Shift End, you select all the data. Then you now come to your name box here and then change it to data. So data, let's change to data 2. Okay, so data 2. Okay, so that's data 2. We click on enter. So automatically, when we want to select this thing, just come to your name box, click on the selection and check for data 2 to select. Fine, we've selected it. So once you've selected it like this, now come to, let's check for where we have our conditional formatting. Let's come to formula. Under formula, no, not under formula. Let's come to data, conditional formatting. Hold on, no, I'm coming. Please mute your mic. Let's go to review or view. Okay, let's go to view.
It's supposed to be on your home now. It's supposed to be on your home.
Yeah, that's true. Thank you. So we come to our conditional formatting, okay? Once you come to conditional formatting, you now click over here. So that conditional formatting, you can do a lot of things from your conditional formatting. You can decide to get bar, data bar, right? You can decide to get, you can set rules. You can set rules for all these things. You can even align sales rule, okay? You can say that, okay, you need all the numbers that are greater than so figure. You want to see all those numbers that are greater than so figure, and then those numbers, you want to have them as so color. You can also say you want numbers that are greater than so and so. You also want to check the duplicate value. You can do a lot of things over here under conditional formatting. So you can see that the data has been selected, right? Then we came to our home tab. From our home tab, we come to the left-hand side, right-hand side of our screen, and we see conditional formatting. So let's come over here. Let's say we want to check for numbers that are greater than certain figure. So format cells that are greater than, let's say, like 100 or 50, or let's say that are greater than, do you have anything greater than 300? Okay, that are greater than 100, sorry. Let's just put that are greater than 100. Okay, so what color do we want to have it as? We want to have it as, let's come here. Let's say we want it to have it as light red fill or red border. Green fill with a dark. So you can see all these numbers that are selected with green, they are all numbers that are greater than that stuff we're talking about. So another thing I want to do is that let me undo what I've done. Let's come to this data. Is there where we can edit a data that we have selected? I don't think so, but let me come over here. Let me check. Sorry, let me do that again. Data. come over here, then you want to come and click here. Okay, so from here also you can see achieve that whatever. So let's come back to this place. Let's select our data again. We select our data. When we select our data, we want to come to the home again. Then we can also clear the rules. We come to conditional formatting. Then we can simply clear the rules, right? So let's come over here to this place, and let's say we want to get numbers between, we can also say we want to get numbers between, let's say between 50 and numbers between 50 and let's say 70. I want to get numbers between 50 and 70. And those numbers that are between 50 and 70 wanted to have another color, okay? So we can click on OK. You can see that the numbers that are above 100, they are already in green color, right? While the numbers that are within 50 and 70, that is what we are having over there. So this actually enables us, when we're doing conditional formatting, it enables us to actually be able to check. For instance, if we want to do reconciliation now, I want to reconcile my bank statement, I want to reconcile it to my cash book. All I needed to do is I copy my bank statement into this place, right? Then I copy my cash book under it. So my cash book is going to be under it like this. Then I can say, okay, let's search for all, for instance, if there's a particular number that I have in my bank statement that I want to be sure that I have it in my cash book, I can simply just go select the data like this, just like the way we selected this one, okay? Once you select the data, you come to your home tab and search for your conditional formatting, and then you can decide to do whatever you want to do. So let's see if you can clear the rules. Clear the rules from selected cell, clear rules from entire sheet. So let's clear the rule from entire sheet. We have cleared the rule for the entire sheet. Let's go back to our data again. Let's still select. We still select our data 2, okay? So we come back to our home page now. Now let's say we want to take away duplicates, right? Let's say is duplicate we want to do. So we can still come back to our allied, whatever. Let's come over here. Then at the bottom, you can see duplicates, right? So duplicates. So now we are telling you that, okay, the duplicate value, what do you want to do? Want to see them as red. All the duplicate value, they should be in red, right? Or let's also click on the drop down, and let's say we want all the duplicates to be in light red field. I will click on OK, and then that will tell you that all these numbers that we are highlighted that are red, they are all duplicates, right? So you can decide to now like streamline it. Okay, I need duplicate within so range. I need duplicate number between so range. Let me also do something. Let me delete this thing. Let me see what will happen. Delete this. Okay, fine. All right, so I can tell it that, okay, I need duplicate between so range. You can also do that. So let's come over to our data again and select data 2, and it's highlighted it. Then we can come back to our home tab, go to our conditional formatting. We can decide to do as anything we want to do as possible. So let's go to more rules first. More rule. Okay, so that is how to actually use conditional formatting. Conditional formatting enables you to be able to get the duplicate. For instance, we've been able to get the duplicate. We'll be able to also see. So if you are looking at duplicate now, you can also, after you've set the duplicate, you can decide to now do another rule on top of it and say, okay, apart from the duplicate, let me also see data that are within the range of so and so. You can decide to do that, and you continue to apply different conditional formats on each of those figures until you're able to select out everything that you're actually looking for. So let's now say that we want to come and do conditional formatting again. We now say, okay, we want to see data that are between or that are equal to, or you can also do for text that contains so and so, but there's no text here. Okay, text that contains so and so, a date occurring. So you can do a lot of conditional formatting. So let's say equal to anything that is equal to 125, or anything that is equal to, let's say, 50. Let's assume we want to check for all the duplicate 90s that we have. We've already selected all the duplicates that we have to be so color. Then let's now say, okay, additionally, we want to see numbers that are equal to 90, right? We want to give them another color. So you will not cover that. Sorry. Can you see me? Can you see me?
We are hearing you, sir.
Okay, so we now say that, okay, all these numbers that are within 90, that are equal to 90, I want to give it another color. So you now check that out of those duplicates, right, those numbers that are 90, for instance, they are having another color, but I think it's not showing well. Let's redo it again. Let's come over here and select the data again. I think we need to give it another color. So data that are 90, out of these duplicates that have been selected, this region that we have duplicate numbers, there are some that 90 is going to be a duplicate in that regard. So we want to give it another, anything that is equal to 90. Want to give it another color. So let's say that is equal to 90 or 91 or something like that. So let's say 90. We want to give it another color. And we don't want it to be red any longer because red is already there. So let's search for, let's say, yellow or green. Okay. So you can see that automatically it's fishing out 90. So the duplicate 90 that we have is this one is here, another one is here. So if you have your what is it called? Your cash book and your bank statement. Once you have them, right? And you can even put a word, like you can say, okay, give me, let's go back to the data. We come back to this data now. We now say that back to your home, then come to your conditional formatting. Then you can now come to allied cell rules. You can declare to say that text that contains okay, so look at what it's doing now. Text that contain January, for instance, text that contain January. So want you to have like probably want you to have maybe like want you to have a red border. Any text that contain January or want you to have something like a red border. So let's click on enter, and automatically you see that okay, January here is having a red border. So if assuming we have January, we have a lot of Januaries here, January, and you want to see what are the January that we have, automatically you can see that here has been highlighted as January, other places have been highlighted as January, and with that you can easily trace and do your reconciliation. If you are looking for a certain text, you can put all the text in that box. If you are looking for a certain figure, you can also come and do conditional formatting, and you can get all those figures that are duplicate or that are whatever. And then that is how you are able to actually achieve what you want to achieve, right? So I think on that note, this is where we are going to call it a day for tonight. I want to give us room to ask questions because I think there's another way that we can actually take off all the duplicates. There's a way we can actually take off the duplicate in case they are duplicate, and then you want to delete all the duplicates, right? There's a way you can do that, but we will not do that on this call, right? Probably when somebody's hand is up. Probably when we meet again next time, we're going to be talking about how to take away duplicates and all that. Okay, so yeah.
Thank you very much, sir.
Okay, thank you, sir.
God bless you for all this your efforts, sir.
Okay.
Yeah, you are trying to demonstrate how we can use this data. For instance, if we take this one as the cash book, and then how we can relate it with maybe the bank statement.
Yes.
Just talk about it, but you have not been able to demonstrate it. You are trying to just play around with it, sir.
Yes. So basically, now for us to be able to achieve that, we will need data from the bank. We also need data from cash book, right? So is there anybody that have those data that are willing to provide it for us to do the analysis? That's a question. So what I'm trying to achieve is that I'm trying to like let you know that there's a way. One of the things that we normally do in when you're trying to do bank reconciliation, for those people that were in the class, bank reconciliation is another topic on its own. So whenever you have a bank reconciliation, you are trying to get the irreconcilable differences. So most times you are reconciling the balance from the bank, you are reconciling it to the balance in the cash book, right? So it is when there's a difference between those balances, that is when an alarm is raised that, okay, something might be wrong. It's either there is an error in our cash book, or either there is a transaction that we have imputed in our cash book that is not in the bank, or either there's a transaction in the bank that is not in our cash book. So that could be what is causing those differences that we have between the bank and the cash book. So that is what bank reconciliation is actually about. So then you start asking yourself that, okay, what are the reconcilable differences that can also actually cause those differences to occur between the balance that we have in the bank and the one that we have in the cash book? We're going to talk about, let's say, you can talk about the bank charges, and talk about direct debit, direct credit. You can talk about what other thing, unpresented check, a lot of things, standing order. So most of those things are what we cause the differences. So it's those differences that we're trying to now look at for. Okay, so if we are now trying to reconcile our bank with our cash book, the first thing we want to do is that we want to first of all get all the things that we have on our bank statement that is also in our cash book. So that's where you want to trace. Want to look at duplicates, right? Want to look at duplicates. Okay, so there is this in the bank statement. There's also this in the cash book. So we are not bothered about what we have in our bank statement and what we can also find in our cash book. What we are looking for is all these things that we cannot see, all these things that are not available. Those are the things that we're particular about. That, okay, these things that is not available, is this in the cash book or is it in the bank? So with that, we can now know, okay, is this on the debit side or is it on the credit side? So that we can know whether it is a direct debit or direct credit. We can know whether it is a standing order. We can know whether it is all those kind of things. So, but what is contained in the cash book and what is contained in the bank statement, they don't give us issue actually. So what actually gives us issue is what is left, what is remaining. Those are the things that is not making the bank statement, the balance in the bank to agree with the balance in the cash book. And those are the things that we now start working on. So we are going to be having presented check. We're going to be having a lot of things, right? Bank charges is one of the things that will cause error. Then we have been able to identify all those irreconciling differences, right? Once we have gotten those differences, then we can now start using them to now start reconciling our balances. So it's a long process actually, but I'm just trying to tell you that to make things easy for you, you can actually use conditional formatting, okay, to actually be able to quickly trace those things that you're actually looking for. Maybe we're going to dedicate one day. If you want us to do a demonstration for that, we can use one day to actually check it well and understand, because that is like bank reconciliation on its own. But we are just learning skills that we can make use of when we are doing bank reconciliation. I hope you are following, sir. Hello, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I
Yeah.
appreciate what you are saying, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, so that is that. So I think is a topic on its own.
Yeah, it will be quite rewarding if we can have time to look at it, sir.
Okay, no problem. I will work on that. I'll work on that, and if possible tomorrow, I'll work on that. Then I'll get back to us on it. Okay, I'll get back to us on that probably tomorrow. Yeah, hope that is fine by us.
It's okay by me. I guess so with others.
Okay, so let me just say one thing before before we end the class. Um, Hard work, they say, is rewarding, right? So like most of these skills that you are learning, you don't know when it will come in handy. An example is one of the most valuable skills to learn as it relates to Excel is your pivot table. You can know most of those skills, like how to use your pivot tables. There's nothing you cannot achieve. For instance, yesterday, one of my students, he had an assignment that he was given, and I think it was to like either submit it early in the morning, right? So the person works with like is it all these what do I call it now? Revenue agency, right? So they have different revenue that a lot of companies paid. So they want to like get like you can say a company paying either is paying what's it called development levy is paying a lot of things that are paying, right? Then they want to say, okay, what are the data is massive, it's a large data, and then you want to quickly sort the data, have all the figures that the person has paid, like a company, and also have the different revenue heads that they have paid. Okay, because you need to like have those things ready so you can say, okay, at the end of the day, this company, what has it paid? Did it pay this so and so? Did it pay so and so? So imagine you are doing that for like 1 million customers, right? And those customers they paid at different interval. They paid development levy. They pay this. They pay that. They pay different things at different times. So if you are trying to do it manually, okay, you might not be able to. You cannot finish it. In fact, in 10 hours, you might not be able to finish it. But imagine just using your pivot table automatically in 2 seconds or in 5 minutes, you can be done with whatever you want to achieve. The report can be ready, and then you can have it submitted. So most of these things that we're doing, don't take it for granted because a day is coming that it will be needed. Okay, a day is coming that it will actually pay you that you have been learning it. So that is that for now. So let's entertain questions now before we go. If there's anything that we've done that you feel that we need to like still work on, you can also still call my attention. Are we together?
Yeah, we're together, sir.
Okay, so the absence of any other thing, I think we've been able to do fine for ourselves tonight. So the things that we're going to continue with is our goal seek, which I said I'm going to work on more. Then I also still come and check how to work on this our conditional formatting more, so that we can all be able to do all these things and understand them properly. Okay, so that is fine. With this, I think we have come to the end of our class. If there's any topic that we've covered that you feel that we should still dwell on, okay, you can also let me know. Today we did evaluation of formulas. We also did formula uh, auditing. We also went to do goal seek. We did the beginning aspect of goal seek. We also went to look at conditional formatting, which we are still going to build up on, and all that. So in the absence of any question, I want to say thank you for joining the class tonight. It was nice having us around. Many are called, few are chosen. So I'm stopping the recording now.